Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. We'll be doing a little bit of time traveling today. So we're gonna be taking it 7 years back to when I was just a young spring chicken, 21 years old, not a worry in the world. No, but seriously, I thought it would be a great idea and hopefully relevant and helpful to a lot of people to just reminisce and reflect on how much I've changed since 21 and the things that I've learned. I'm currently 27, I'll be 28 in like 2 months. So it's almost been a decade. So I'm definitely a different person then than I am now. 21, I was in my 3rd year of college, I think, or 4th year. I don't know. Now I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I live in a totally different area and city. So as you can imagine, there's been a lot of significant life changes. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe to my channel if you like videos like this. And without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so we're just gonna jump right in. These are in no particular order. I basically jotted these down as a stream of consciousness. Before I get started, I just wanna give you guys a little bit of a disclaimer or a background on where I was at 21 years old, like what was going on in my life. I ended up graduating college at 17 and I lived in Seattle at the time. I got accepted to an Ivy League university. I also was accepted to play soccer there for their D1 school. I ended up going there for a year and then it didn't work out, and I transferred to a completely different type of college, the University of Arizona in Tucson, Arizona. So it was definitely a big change. It was like going from being a big fish in a small pond to being a small fish in a big pond, if that makes sense for you athletes out there. At the age of 21, I was in my 3rd year of college, I believe. I was on the school's soccer team. I had a very vibrant social life, and for anyone that is an athlete or was an athlete in college, you guys know that it is tough to balance your social life, your academics, fitness and conditioning, and all that good stuff. So I'm just giving you guys a little background on that. My parents, I was fortunate enough that they were able to provide me with an education, so I didn't work. All I had to do was go to practice and go to school, which, trust me, were jobs in themselves. But that kind of leads me to the first point. I kind of reflected on how I managed or mismanaged my money and my finances at the time. The first thing I want to tell my 21-year-old self is you don't need to buy expensive things to look good. And I cannot stress this enough. The more I've grown, the more I've realized that I seriously am not attached to big ticket items. Do I like quality things? Yes. Do I like things that are long lasting and that are useful to me? Yes. But that doesn't always mean the price tag. I could think of like 100 examples of what I'm talking about to back this up, but specifically I remember that I spent like $300 or $350 on this designer purse that I just felt like I had to have. I felt like that it would make me, it would make my outfits, like I needed to wear it to go out, all that nonsense. And then I remember I was like starving for like the next 2 weeks because I had used all my money and my parents were not about to send me more money to make up the difference. Also in college, I used to be obsessed with that website Tumblr. So comment down below if you ever use Tumblr. But what I loved about Tumblr is I kind of discovered the idea, concept of minimalism through Tumblr. I remember scrolling through all the random pictures and seeing like these super clean and white and fresh like apartments, and I feel like it's very inspiring to be in like a clean, open, bright space. So that kind of carries me through now. I mean, now I live in a tiny New York City apartment, so I gotta kind of fit things in where I can, but I feel like my inspiration does come from like a nice, cleanly, minimalistic look ultimately. Alright guys, so you knew it was coming. The next thing is Candace, 21-year-old Candace, you have food at home. I would spend so much money on fast food. I was eating anything and everything. I had a huge appetite because I was burning so many calories a day and I was super active. But what I didn't know then that I realize now is that I would eat so much food and still be hungry because I wasn't eating the proper nutrition. So if you eat highly nutritious and protein heavy foods, you'll actually get fuller faster and you'll be fuller longer, and in the long run it'll be a lot more healthy for you. Save your money, go to the grocery store more, cook and buy food at home. The next thing is going to be invest in your mental health. So we all know the physical benefits of working out and eating healthy, but investing in your mental health is just as important, if not more important. There were definitely at least 2 times in my life that I could say that I had undiagnosed pretty severe depression, but because at the time I didn't really identify it as depression or anxiety, I feel like things went more south than they should have. I feel like I would have been in a better situation if I had taken care of that and identified it and been able to cope with it in more therapeutic ways. All right, the next thing is know your worth and never settle. And this can apply to a large variety of things, whether it's your relationships, friends, or your romantic relationships. Just be sure that you are not settling or sacrificing parts of yourself to keep other people happy. And also this can apply to your career. So one thing that I learned, and I guess I was a little older than 21, but right when I graduated, those types of jobs that I was first starting out in, I was just happy to get a job. I didn't think about negotiating salaries. I didn't think about what my actual skill set was. I was just applying to jobs with the hopes that they would just let me in. And come to find out now that there's a lot of room for negotiation. You definitely want to leverage your skill sets the best way you can and make sure that you're being recognized for your worth at all times. The next thing is document everything. So I have to shout out my sister for this one. She told me this a long time ago. Specifically, this was pertaining to whenever you have any correspondence with professors or your management or anything like that, you should always document it. Not only so that you know exactly what went down, but just to eliminate any miscommunication. So what I have a good habit of doing now, which I wish I did before, is whenever I have a meeting with someone, I like to send like a follow-up email and just reiterate everything that was said, just to make sure we're both clear on what's going on. This is also helpful if you have any discrepancies later. In terms of documenting outside of the workplace, I used to journal when I was very little, and I feel like I should have done that more in my early 20s. Journaling not only helps with anxiety, but it also helps to keep you motivated and keep you inspired, and also keep you on track with things. So there's just so many benefits to documenting everything. And then also now in this day and age, we have like digital documenting. So even like digital scrapbooking, like I know a lot of people use their Instagram or Facebook as a digital scrapbook, and I think it's so important to capture memories and be able to remind yourself of where you were as a motivation for where you're going. The next thing is follow your heart, because you will never regret something that you've done if you followed your heart. As soon as I graduated college, I knew that I wanted to move to New York City. I knew that it was going to be tough because it's expensive. I knew that I didn't necessarily have a job lined up, but I do have a pretty interesting story. So my last year of college, like I said, I had made up my mind and I decided that I wanted to move to New York after college. I wanted to live in a big city. So I ended up applying to a ton of jobs even though I hadn't graduated yet. I just started applying to all these jobs in New York, and I did not get responses from any of them. I think a couple months went by, and right when I graduated, I got a call, and it was from a job here, and they said that my resume had actually been forwarded to them. I had never even applied to that job, but someone had received the resume to one of the places I did apply to and forwarded it to them and asked them to consider me. And what's crazy is I actually ended up flying to New York for the interview, and they told me that they weren't going to accept me at this time. And about 4 months later, they called me up and they were like, oh, you know, we have another opening and we kind of are now able to accept more people, and they did accept me. Even though it was a struggle to get here, I feel like I am not gonna regret, you know, always following my heart. And now I've ended up with, you know, my husband and my little baby and doing, you know, what I love. So I feel like if you're split in between decisions, my parents in particular had given me a lot of pushback when I graduated about moving to New York, but at the end of the day, I think, you know, I followed my heart and I ended up happy. And then the very last piece of advice I would give my 21-year-old self is just to not worry about things that are already out of your control, or things that in 5 years from now won't really make a difference. So obviously you want to put 100% into everything that you do, but once it's done, you have to move on. If you're in college and you just got a bad grade on one test from one semester, from one class, from 1 year of college, you can't dwell on that. You have to move on. And in 5 years from now, I promise you, no one is going to be asking you what the grade is on that assignment. Now, if this is a repeat thing, you know, you probably want to get it under control, but don't devastate yourself. You know, maybe you're not even in college and you're in a career path already. You know, use every mistake as a learning opportunity and an opportunity to grow and just develop yourself more as a person. All right, guys, so that concludes today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope these points were clear and relevant for you. I definitely wish I could go back and tell my 21-year-old self all these things. I also wish I could tell my 21-year-old self to change her style a little bit, but that's a whole nother story. Please be sure to like and subscribe to my channel, and I see you guys in the next video.